when we're living in America and we expect the system to support us, and it doesn't. So what happens then? Well, I'll tell you, the public school system really isn't graduating children who look like me. Not that many. And so who really is being impacted by the failed public services are truly just us, the people. I do not blame or respect folks who blame others and do nothing to contribute. The deal is I've been to public meetings. I participated on the school site council of every school that my children were attending in. I sat on the Set a Head Start Policy Board. I sat on the Alliance for Family and Community Partnerships Board for WestEd. I attended case conferences, and and this gray hair reflects my ability for my advocacy for my children, because all my children were successful. And it's not about talking about people or putting people down. The real deal is, what do you really understand about having the ability to act on freedom? Because that's what you have to do. We were all born here in America. If you're born in America, then you become an American citizen. How wonderful. What is the cost of that citizenship? Well, honey, I can't tell you. Cost of citizenship in America means that you either become a Democrat or a Republican, but irregardless of Democrat or Republican, the deal is your belief system. How do you share what you truly believe, and who are you sharing it with? Because if you're not sharing it with the policymakers, the people who are deciding how those dollars are allocated back to your local community, and who gets to work with them? Hell, I'm watching what's going on in Ferguson and understanding that the weeks that they were riding out there in Ferguson, that the city council was so busy allocating contracts for 20 and 100 years, 99 years. Get real. How is the money ever going to go to anyone else? Because they had shorted up. There was no free money coming to Ferguson that hadn't already been claimed or prepared to go to other people's friends and family members. That's why, being a friend and having people got your back is real. But in the public education system, where we all just participate, basically, to some extent, if you understand that children go to kindergarten or preschool or Head Start, and then children go to elementary school, and children go to high school. But if at any time during that venture, the children start falling behind, there's no catch up. And so when we're looking at systems and who has the ability to be effective in the system, it's just not us. It's not people. And I'll take that back, because there are many of us who are very successful and who have enough resources. And, we have a lot of Black elected leaders, but they're in elected positions. And those positions, while they're in those positions, they're not acting on their own. They're acting on what others are saying, and attempting to ensure that, that it actually happens, I guess, because it's not happening for everyone. And that's just real. This is the first time I'm actually going live in my backyard and using my laptop to be live and to share concern, because I really am concerned. I think we all are concerned about what's going on right this moment, because what's going on right this moment is totally dysfunctional. And what I see how that works. And the dysfunction that's happening in America, because of conversations, and I'm so happy everybody's having a conversation, like, everybody's having an intelligent conversation, somewhat intelligent, and somewhat, I think the sun got me here a little bit, somewhat intelligent and functional. But then we have people who have always been given a little piece of the pie and enjoy where they're living. And why should you mess it up for them? Because if you're going to start focusing on what's really happening for people like you, they have to accept and admit that the many more children in poverty are not making adequate gains. They're not even making any gains. Hell, they are not even relevant. And she says we have to be on the inside to make it happen, and there is power. There's power out there. There's power in you. Because if you go back and listen to the music, it was always about Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On," and Prince had a song out there. But Prince was really all that writing on his face, and it wasn't tattooed. It was slave. It's a symbol that symbolized slavery. And it was so wonderful to see an artist finally stand up against the system and fight. But guess what? In the end, the same people who own this music are the same people who own this music now. So all that Purple Rain stuff is not going to the community. And regardless of what we think, it's not supporting community people. So no matter how far we go in life, we can see that the dollars allocated to support our families are not making a real big difference, not making a difference at all. They have event logs. And look, Facebook, not okay. I'm not exactly sure about this live and if it's really working, but I'm sure it is because I see somebody in the room. And then I have live on my Zoom too, and I'm recording that also. But frustration is where we're living today. So frustrated about understanding truly how many children who have color or melanated skin don't even have access to a beginning, can't even think about what initially would they do should all the schools get shut down. And all the schools did shut down. So what are they doing when they don't even have outreach in your community? And what are they doing with those families who have those overdue bills like Cox and Comcast that won't be allowed to participate in any of the additional learning until Congress actually agrees to focus on doing away with some of those past negative bills so their children can have access? We all pay taxes, and it's so difficult to understand why, if we're paying taxes, what the outcomes are and how to measure those outcomes. And see, they want to talk about oppression, oppression, oppression. And I want to talk about oppression in the vote right now. And I want to tell you that if you don't have a basic education, then you're not participating in the community side, basically. But if you started participating, you're not making the rules. And the rules are not driven by you. The rules are driven by the people who choose to step up their game, the people who choose to show up. And so, there are people that are, I heard it, politically linked. And everybody in their family, like the Nancy Pelosi's and all of them, Louis Gohmert, and, you just start listening. Then you have to look at their family and their family's lineage and how much money and how many opportunities they've been involved in America. And then you look at us and you say, if you started off wrong and probably didn't make a wise decision and didn't have a good man who didn't want to raise your child, well, you thought you had a good man. And then the joke became on you. All of a sudden, the joke is on you. And this male person, is pretending that they have no obligation to pay child support. What in the hell are we that we have to fight for every penny to raise a child? And how are states' rights even relevant? And how are they demanding to ensure that people still have the right to not have an abortion and all the children have to be born starving? Just starving, lack of thriving, inability to learn, issues. All we've done is create a whole nest of dysfunction that we have to still support. Because all those people didn't have any of those wonderful outcomes, in certain cities, larger cities, and didn't have functional outcomes, basically. Far too many children were not falling along the wayside. And what happens to those children? I tell you, system dependent. System dependency is real. And then people who are in positions that are really not quite skilled to be in those positions. Well, hell, do you think they're going to let you take me or anybody else take their dollars away? No, they're not. The only thing you really have control over is your own children. But if you're trying to support your children and you choose not to read the rules, and then you try to set somebody up on a damn three-way call, like, I'm not going to help certain people anymore. And that's just real. Because I kept on hearing the phone click. You're not smarter than me. And everything that I've given for free. I never asked for nothing, but I will not be made a fool of, and I don't play games. And that's just real. Because everybody chooses, and the real deal is that in America, if you have a child, that child's your own damn responsibility. How they get an education is on you. And if you don't understand what the rules say, then that's nobody's business but your own. Because you definitely have a business in ensuring that you understand that you have to know all the rules. Even if no one told you the rules exist, it's still your responsibility, human being, to raise a human being child. And here we are with all these men running around making all these babies, and they ain't got no employment. So what the hell? What did we really establish in America? We have to go back and watch movies and identify what was going on in that movie? No, I don't, because I've lived some life. But what I need to identify is why people who are my age and even younger have no value for what I talk about all the time, which is education. And I talk about education simply because without it, you ain't nothing, absolutely nothing. And how is it that people have years of education and still work at Payless Shoe Store, or work at Marshall's, or work at Denny's with with that wonderful PhD diploma? That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, they paid for it, and you got to pay for it. I didn't never pay for any diploma from any. Oh, let me lie. Let me sit up here and lie to you, because I thought that I did it this year. I did actually 2 years of volunteer and service for the Corporation of National Community Service. And I'm going to tell you, if you ever have an opportunity to become a federal volunteer, I encourage you to get out there and do it. It's under the Corporation for National and Community Service, in which you get to two full years in a lifetime, but you can't do more than 2. And every year you get $5,700 towards college scholarship. The money just sits in a fund waiting for you to come get it. But then we have smart people like over in Elk Grove Business Institute who figured out how to get that money up front before I even took one class. And they took a loan out on me for $10,000, almost $11,000. And guess what happened to my money that I earned that I could have had an opportunity to share with my children? It was an agency that stole it. And guess what? Nobody in Sacramento would hold them accountable. Not one damn person. I went to Elk Grove School Board. I went to the State Department of Education, and I tried to contact the Corporation of National Community Service, in which they did no advocacy for me. So understand, ain't nothing free in America. There's nothing free, and people steal from you. And what makes that right? It makes it right is because they figured this shit out. They figured it out. You ain't figured it out yet. So therefore, you get to just sit on it. And that's just it. We have tons and tons of children in the public school system who are not reading above the 50th percentile. What does that mean, 50th percentile? I mean, when somebody calls you and tells you that their child just wants to get a high school diploma and they're doing 3rd grade work in the 12th grade, what do you want me to say? Because that person obviously never read a book, never was encouraged to read a book, and it's all a part of parenting. And the parent didn't do their job, so don't think at the last minute you're going to get something. Not unless you get out there and understand that you have to do the advocacy for the skills-based employment so that our kids can have training and an education to sustain a family, but actually make that support meaningful. That's what you have to do. But the support our people are getting is not even relevant. And oh my Lord, I'm here in Nevada, and I got to hear a recording this morning. I think it was Stephen Hirschford, whatever. And, there are just so many Congress people that I've met. And I even met Sisline. I met the governor. And truly, he said, contact my people. And I tried to contact these people. But, they were full of excuses. They were letting me know that, the education system here is really not that great. But there are reasons, because this was always a Republican territory. And, the Republicans have this thing saying, we the people. Well, the we the people are the people who choose to step up. And the we the people who are not the people are the people who just think that because they're born here, they're going to get a free treat. Well, nobody rides for free. And that's what I learned in high school. It said the A word, ass, the G word, grass, and then something else, but nobody rides for free. So I guess you had to give up something if you're going to get in the car, right? So I never got in the car with anybody because I wouldn't give it up nothing. But anyways, lots to talk about. Always lots to talk about, always concerning, because now this COVID did the best thing for us in the world. What did COVID do for us? I'll tell you what COVID did. It exposed the real reality. It exposed what's going on. It demonstrates that certain people just never had any access for whatever reason. They didn't have any access. Access to what? They didn't have any access to any of the options that would lead you to independence. That's what I'm saying. So, you know, my son was he was in second grade when I realized to the extent of his disability, but I always knew he had a disability. And it was a language disability. So I agreed to put him in a CH class. I agreed to put him in a communication handicap class that would allow him to learn the skills to communicate effectively, in which he did eventually. But I'm saying I met almost every 3 months in the district. And we met and we talked about what supports the children were needing and how to measure the maintenance of effort and just what was going on. Because the reality is when I look back on my journey, because that's the only one I got to explain to you that I had, when I look back on my journey and I understand that life is not kind. It's not kind because if you make stupid mistakes, then stupid happens to you. And you just got to keep on living until you can pull yourself up. And so the best thing to do is understand, without trials and tribulations, you don't learn any lessons. You didn't go through anything. You don't know nothing. So many people who look like me don't know anything about public schools. I ask, well, what have you done? To what level have you participated? What level have you engaged? Because when I'm asking questions here, people act like they don't have to answer my questions. But guess what? At the Department of Education, there are rules that we all must follow. How do you think my son graduated with a 101A, a laptop, and above proficient? Because everybody got to follow the rules. Everybody. And if the rules are not being followed, then you have a right to do your advocacy. But it's crazy to me that so many people who look like me, who I never seen out there, I never seen them in the state board meeting, I never seen them in the city council meetings until recently, after Stephon Clark got shot, they were all down there. Because the deal is that when you have a young man and you have men that you birthed, and they are trying to make it to your grandma's house because they're out late, and then at 5 o'clock in Sacramento, when the police squad cars all zoom out, it's like, what's that game? There was a game on PlayStation or whatever, something ghetto. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Anyways, the real deal is, mine went blank, but when I think about it, I will tell you. But the whole thing is that if you are not making progress, then you're not making progress at all. And if the district can demonstrate that so many children are below grade level at certain intervals of learning, like from the first to the third grade, how many children actually didn't meet the minimum qualifications to say that they were actually reading it or participating at a third grade level? Because then you go up to the sixth grade, and you have to ensure that those children are making meaningful progress to the middle school standards. And then once you get to middle school, then you have to look and see where the children are and how they will access the ninth grade. Because if they're accessing the ninth grade far below basic, your child don't have a chance. And that's just real. What is social promotion? Should I ask? Do you know? Social promotion is that what the district has agreed to with the state of California or the teachers union is that they could Z-code the curriculum. Well, what is Z-coding the curriculum? I'll tell you. Z-code the curriculum means to meet the child where you are. So if your child is so low, then don't think they're ever going to be able to have the executive functioning skills to be supportive and even be successful in high school. It's just not happening. And it's so unfortunate that wherever we talk, we're talking about what somebody's doing in their program area and how they're helping supporting the children to make it to their program area. But on the overall, the whole topic of we have a Black caucus in the United States of America. Yes, we do. And Black people are enlisted and serve at the level of Congress, have the actual ability to pull data and to see what's happening, see why Black people are where they are up until now. And that's why I said the meeting today on policing was so wonderful that they had on C-SPAN, that they're talking about on, thinking about how they're going to reorganize the police department. And it's going to happen. But how is it going to happen? Just know that is going to happen. Because this is the first time in life where everything in the world was shut down. And that's just real. Everything in the world got shut down immediately. And they don't let you share this one. I was trying to figure out how I share, but I don't think I can share because there's no share button on this. And I can float around with my other little box up here. But I will be able to download it and share it another time. But frustration is where I live because I know the work that my son was able to complete in high school. He went to science and engineering where they built a boat. They built an actual boat and competitively they raced the boat out there at where Rancho Seco, and we spent the night out there at Rancho Seco, and we were there for like 2 or 3 days, and I didn't know how it was going to work, but I didn't trust leaving my son out there with all those children, so I was a parent who volunteered, and I went out there and they built the boat, and I got pictures on my Facebook about what happened, and I got his graduation recorded too, and I saved that. But it was just awesome to understand that a child who is autistic and still in the spectrum, who has epilepsy, and who still has limited conversation, talks about what he likes, still graduated above proficiency. And what does proficient mean? It means above grade level. So when I took him over there to City College to have an assessment, he doesn't need any more writing, no more English. Who graduates high school at the ability, a child who was in a gifted and talented program, right? My son didn't have that, but what he did have is special ed. And we did measure the maintenance of effort all the time. And we came back and met all the time. And, it's frustrating to me that we have to look at people across the spectrum to see at each grade level how well children are making the progress that will ensure that they're promoted to the next grade level. You see, in special education, you actually have a right to compete for the same services and the same ability as your non-disabled peer. So, if your mother or your parent is on that, being engaged in a public arena with the same services to help you engage in the process, so you learn. But here we are, and what does it look like? It looks like to me that certain children are there's no maintenance tool. There's nothing. And then when I look at the data here in Clark County or Las Vegas, when they only had 330 children to have access to early Head Start who were in poverty. I mean, the children who were actually qualified for the Head Start program, it was only 330. But it was like almost 2,000 and something of white people. And when I talked to the person at the Head Start office, well, what she said was that, and there was so many blacks, of course, what she said was they get to go up to 28% of the poverty level, 28% above the poverty level. That means that all those children below the 28% were being denied because 28% was allowed to happen. And because it's a split Head Start, it's not total federal, it's federal and state. So, but you still have more state people in those programs, and you have people in poverty. And these people look like me. And then when the people don't even know about the historically black colleges, and they come here every year, and the people don't even know about, Head Start. They don't know. They don't know about resources. And I ask why? Because these are federal resources. These are resources, federally, I have a right to freedom of speech. And that's why I can sit in my backyard and have this conversation. And no one can do anything to me because I am not violating any rules. And I'm not charging anybody any money. But what I would like to do is support people. But when people don't understand and they accept the letter grade of F, what the hell is that? Fail to thrive. Failure to thrive. You understand that in the beginning of life, that's all you have. But if you start making choices that don't benefit you, then what's going to happen? You're not where you need to be when you need to be. And so, I had a parent tell me, and she's telling me that she wanted her son to get a high school diploma. Well, maybe you did, but guess what that takes? That takes you getting your behind in there and make sure that kid is opening up that book and reading. It doesn't mean that you have your child coming home and your child ain't got no homework. Are you serious? No homework? The work takes a long time to complete because it's just like coordinating a presentation. What all needs to go into that presentation to complete the assignment? But we can't even find basic level data as to grade level student achievement, how many kids are being left behind, and what are you doing for those children who are being left behind? Because that's what federal funding is for. Every school who receives Title I has 90 days to rewrite their single plan for student achievement, according to the state of California, that would help bring additional support to those children who were perhaps falling on the wayside. But when you're not even looking at those children are not even an inkling thought about and then you have all these people who are employed with federal dollars, Title I dollars. You have a ton of people employed in Title I dollars who have no responsibility for the outcomes of the community who look like poverty. And outcomes of people who look in the community who look like poverty is the people who look like me. I don't get it. There is a responsibility to the feds. And so, this whole thing about the 13th and 14th and the 15th Amendment and the understanding, except for someone who had committed a crime, to do the advocacy. But if you're crime ridden, like all of the functional people who get a 259% suspension exposure rate in the public school system, 259% higher than any other group of people, your people just dysfunctional. Should I say that? What can I say about that? I can't explain that percentage because there's no breaking it down. You don't get to break it down. You don't get to know how many kids in there were even qualified for special education. And what is a riot is that the Commission on Student Funding, student-centered funding, they're trying to figure out a way to share the hold harmless clause under the federal allocation of federal dollars to a state. Guess what? Obama took all that away. That's one thing Obama did. He took it all away, and then he told the states, well, and even to get the money, you had to accept that you were going to provide the services for the kids with disabilities. And nobody took the waiver because they all wanted the federal money. They all wanted that federal money. Everybody wants it because guess what? Livelihoods depend on it. People have pensions wrote out of that money. People have, people go on vacation 3 months out of the year on that money. I mean, it's real. So what do we say? People are going on vacation 3 months out of the year. People look forward to their professional development because it's a notch. They get to get paid more. Well, that professional development money comes from where? It comes from the generating the poor people. That's why the census is so critical. The census will allow each state to collect federal dollars, your tax dollars, coming back to your state to help support your people who are in poverty. But who gets to decide that? Well, here in Clark County, they have a commission on that, a commission on this, a board on that, a board on this, a commission on that, a commission on this. And they have the NAACP, which the leader of the group could take her automatic payment from my checking account and renew my membership without my consent. I guess they got it set up that way. I seen it. It's in the flesh by. I didn't trip because it was time for my renewal. But I should trip because guess what? They never acknowledged that I was a part of the NAACP 1111 branch here in Nevada. And even though I was going to the education workshops on the first Saturday of the month, whatever, that Tammy was running, a school district employee, mind you, no support, nothing. They don't train the people here. You see, in America, you're not free as long as you're system dependent. And even if you get to a point where your mind is free, the reality is that you still have to act on that freedom because the cost of freedom has never been free. And it just kills me. I'm trying to understand the understanding of people who choose not to participate locally. Oh, girl, I don't do no public policy. Public policy is not something that I do. That's what people say. They don't want to engage in. My mother just walked out and she pretends like I'm only talking to her. The world is around her, and that's my life. It's real. So anyways, people who choose not to volunteer in their local community have no say-so. So if you don't vote, you don't show up at community meetings, you don't go to school site meetings, you don't go to community meetings, you don't know nothing. You're just living and paying taxes. And thank you for paying the taxes. I'm sure Trump appreciates you paying taxes. I know he appreciated getting my mom's taxes money this year. So the appreciation is there. We are all taxed as citizens. And even if you ain't taxed and you don't get a lot of money, guess what? Allocations based on the number of people who live in your community or in poverty, the money comes back to the community. And that's why we have all those people employed under the federal umbrella that have no responsibility for the maintenance of effort, for the outcomes. And we have all those poor people who are just being promoted out of the public school system with a certificate of completion, which does not count like a high school diploma. So what the hell are we talking about? What are you going to do with that damn certificate of completion? It's not going to get you a real job. It doesn't even equal the high school diploma. So you know that 12 years of something, I thought it was 12 years a slave or whatever, but guess what? It is like being enslaved because you truly cannot progress unless you understand that you have to engage in the process. But once you engage in the process, it becomes real because you become the target. And lots of things can happen to you physically and mentally being a target. And, you know, in Sacramento, where they used to use the drones to do certain focus, turning on people's cars in the middle of the intersection, hell, they do stupid shit here. Well, you know what they did? I was at a public meeting at the NAACP in one of their meetings, and the Attorney General came. And I recorded him, what he said, because other people were up there talking too. Then all of a sudden, by the time I got home, my phone said, your phone has committed an illegal operation. I said, how in the hell is I'm videoing? I'm paying the bill, and it's an Apple phone. So I thought I had a little bit of leeway, but hell no. They manipulate that shit too. So my phone committed an illegal act. That part of the video was deleted and never to reappear again. But here we are, trying to understand just what rights you have as an American citizen. And as an American citizen, I have a right to livelihood. Whatever I say, my livelihood, and you know, quality life, whatever I want, I'm an American citizen. I have rights. That's why I'm not going to get out there among some protesters because I won't have no rights. Because I'm a very outspoken person. And I understand where I live. And I understand that we all need to focus on the outcomes. And if I can tell you a definition for voter suppression is this: miseducation of the Negro person, or the colored person, the African American, or the formerly enslaved, or however you want to see yourself, doesn't matter. But the miseducation says that when you get out of high school after 12 years, you can't get a job because you can't read. And what is it that you really want to do when you're trying to tell somebody, explain to somebody that your child wants to learn how to do something, but you never made him read a book? You know, there's a song, read a book, read a MF book. It's a rap song, but you gotta read to access knowledge. And you ain't got no knowledge to share with anybody if you ain't been through nothing. And if you ain't never went through nothing, then it's still on you. Trials and tribulations are real. You are out there struggling now, hey? I'm not struggling. My children graduated from high school. My children have skills. And that's what we need to be. Trying to ensure that our children have access to a skills-based learning environment, and that they can be successful, and that they can be independent, because it means that you have to be able to coordinate some things and make some money. And it doesn't mean you got to work for somebody, but you have to work for yourself. And working for yourself, that means you have to educate yourself. That means you have to know how to read. You have to know how to research information. You have to know what you're entitled to. So what are you entitled to? What is that free, appropriate, public education of faith? I'll tell you what it is. It's whatever you, parent, agree to. So if your child is having all kinds of behavior issues and they're trying to address those behavior issues, well, guess what? That's all you get. You ain't get no more, because you don't know what your rights are. And anybody who don't know what their rights are, who want to talk about attacking this government, the United States of America, where we live, Understand that just because you've never chosen to get off your behind and go to public meetings and express yourself, then you really don't have a room. And you don't vote, you ain't got no room to talk. Who are you talking about? You want to pull a gun out and do what? Force somebody to do what? Help me. Treat you a better way? You wake up and start treating yourself a better way. That's what you have to do. Everybody has a personal responsibility to act on oneself. And if you're not willing, don't think that people are just going to gift it to you somehow. It's going to be a gift. No, there's no gift in America. It says freedom of speech and freedom of religion and all that stuff. You see other people act on it. Now it's time for you to act on it. The COVID was a blessing to Black people in America. That should have been my statement on this on this live stream. It should have been, the COVID was a blessing to Black America because it drove out the attention of what they're doing to us. And how is it that law enforcement can brutally punch a Black woman, just beat the hell out of her? I've seen it too many times. Even the young children just thrown around like rag dolls with no concern. And that's how come that man can murder that man on the street. There's never been a consequence for killing Black people. There's never been a consequence to all the mixed race children out there too, because that was rape. I don't believe it was free. I believe it was forced. And so, even my grandfather was a forced relationship, but he was mixed white and Native American and a lot of other things. But who are we? Well, when I worked at Macy's, the woman told me I looked like I just got off the boat from Africa. Oh, Bella, beautiful, beautiful. Look like you just get off the boat from Africa. Yeah, right. It's real. It really doesn't matter. Because as long as you live in America, you're an American citizen. And what you have to do is act on your citizenship. That means a personal responsibility to get your behind out there in your local communities and find out what's happening with children. I don't know why we're just now getting to the point where we're talking about what's happening with the children. Because if the children never get a basic education, well, let's not pretend that there are jobs coming back to the local community to work with people who look like us. Because that just missed us as an American people. The building of the capacity of the community engagement and the ability to build within our community just missed us. Because I know I paid $100 to go to the leadership conference for the NAACP. They had it here. National Leadership Conference for Black people who were in the NAACP who wanted to learn how to be more effective, build. But guess what? I was the only person that came besides the chair of the NAACP, Roxanne, whatever her name is. And quite frankly, she said her people were too busy to come to a meeting like that. This is real. She said they have to work too. And I said, but advocacy is different. And she did not want to hear anything. I never have wanted to hear anything I said. When I went and they have a little tiny group in the NAACP where they decide what's going to be on the agenda, and it's not part of your responsibility as a participant. So, I stopped going to meetings, but I paid my dues. I don't have to meet with anyone to understand where I've been and what I've learned in life. I had to participate in order to just ensure that my children were being successful. I had to step up my game. And we all have to step up our game right now. Because all the children out there, what are we doing that 8-year-old Black little girls and the 8-year-old Black little boys are hanging themselves in the closet with the belt because life is so bad? And it's not the bullying like that. It's the lifestyle. It's what we've done to ourselves as a people by not demanding that we have same access as them, equal access. With equal access, you can make the same, you can make the same growth basically as someone who, color doesn't make any difference. What makes the difference is access. And I'm trying to tell you that because that's how my son graduated with a 101 aid, a laptop above proficient. And I have to go back and look at his report card to tell you where he scored, but there were many, many people below him, and he was special ed. But because he graduated with above proficient and his GPA was above 3.79 or something like that, with a disability. So, what are we really saying? I want to know about those damn certificates of completion. And because Nevada has several different um, pathways for graduation, and I don't know where our children, where our people are. I would like to know because, quite frankly, if you don't have a basic education, you cannot sustain yourself. You make choices that are not relevant and good for you. And then, come on, it's crazy. Who makes a last minute decision and then it's just too late? You messed up. Even educated people and where people are trying to save their children out there running around doing the wrong thing and getting caught up. And I know it only takes 1 second to get caught up. You get with the wrong person, they give you a wrong ideal, and then you let into it. But here in America, accomplished, if you're an accomplished, then you're guilty too. That's what this is all about because there were 3 people on that man, one on his neck, oh, 3 people, and then 2 on his, one on his mid part and one on his legs. He couldn't move, he was pinned down. George Floyd, whatever. But that's how come everybody knows his name right now. Because he was murdered in a public murder. And then when you go back in the history books and you see how they lynched black people, you see the welts in the black people's bodies, beaten with until blood came up and just ripped the skin open. I can look at those pictures, but I would have been crazy having to live like that. That's where I would have been. Because I couldn't have lived in that time. And I would have been dead quick. I probably wouldn't have lived until I got 62. But yet, still, the real reality is that I understand the importance of speaking up. When my dad was in the Air Force, and they were forcing him to train people, my mother wrote a letter to the president. We were also shipped out of that base, but my dad got the promotion. Get real. Life is about speaking up. And here in Nevada, Henderson, Clark County, where there is no Moulin Rouge, there is no Cotton Club, the lodge, the Elks Lodge is pretty dilapidated. And there's a whole video on the public broadcast station here about the Moulin Rouge and what happened over the times and how many times it burned down. Seriously, it burned down. Should we think about that as a looter kind of thing, or how should we think about that? That it burnt down more than once? Because if we understand that black people are allowed to come here and perform on the script, but there's no place for them to perform for their people. And in the South, that's what they used to do. They used to go to juke joints and party with the people. And then somehow the people got disconnected. And the disconnection from the haves and the have-nots. And then we have the Kobe effect. Because Kobe was an amazing basketball player. He had an opportunity to live an amazing life. But then he had an entitlement problem. And that led to his demise. And that's just real. You see, you can't be entitled to think that it's all about you. Because it never was all about you. We can look at the history of our magnificent performers and understand that nothing from their ability to give to their people, initially how they started, did they give back to the community. Because they're not controlling their money. Taxes are real. But how is it that President Trump paid less taxes than his secretary? It's real. You have to play the game. And we're not in the game. We're not in the game because our children aren't even being educated. Not every large city in America has an issue with black children on the bottom and those special education children. And I'm not saying special ed is bad, but a lot of black people think special ed and the yellow bus is a damn joke. And it's not. It's called Burger King a la carte. You get the way you need it, not the way they want to give it to you. But you get the way they give it to you, as long as you think and you believe that they can give it to you. You can't stop people from doing negative things to you if you never stand up. And that's just real. And so, there is a process that was established around public education regarding parent involvement. Section 11B, I think. And under the Ed Code, it says that all parents have a right to understand what's happening from the meaningful support of their children. And they have a right to measure the maintenance of effort to ensure that their children are having access. But I can tell you, it's not something that really happens in, you know, it's not something that really happens in America. I can tell you that. Because not all children are being educated. But we have created a prison nation where we pay for public services to happen for all people. Yet and still, the purpose, they're not benefiting people who look like me. Why so many children are dropping out of school? Tell me why. I mean, it's not cool to, and have law enforcement as the social structure in America, because we this is not this is not Russia. This is not a communist country. But it might as well be if you want to use law enforcement as the enforcers, because they were getting a large chunk of that money in Sacramento. They were taking the money out of the general fund, actually. But when you have a superintendent who can write a book and then take all the employees and make them his employees and then contract out the work to different districts for a higher rate, well then goddamn, the game was going on. But we pulled that whole card. And that superintendent resigned next day after the board agreed to investigate him. But the board here is weak. The board here has no authority. The board here doesn't ask for the data. And if I've asked for the data as a citizen, I have the right to the data. Oh, what data? She said, well, we don't even do the Title I thing. Really, you don't do the Title I thing, but guess what? You got the Title I money. So anytime you take the federal money, you have to live to the federal obligation. And that is that free and appropriate public education. And how it works, truly, is you get what you believe you deserve. Because they have to pay for every outside evaluation, every assessment that you have if you disagree. There's just a negotiation factor that exists under special education. But under special education, you have the right to know. And they're playing this game with the reformulation of the student-centered funding here in Nevada and pretending like special ed is a pot of money that comes to the school. Special ed is not a pot of money that goes to the school. It cannot be counted in your base allocation for that school site. Even if you put those children over there, the children and the resources go to the child, not to the whole school. So I don't understand what they're doing there. They're trying to figure it out. They've been stealing, but stealing from the people. The people allowed themselves to be stolen from, and that's just wrong. Nothing is free in America. Truly, nothing is free. Life is not free, because if you don't do what you need to do, then you don't get to live. That's just wrong. I think I've been on here long enough. I'm getting ready to sign off. But I recorded to you on my Zoom. I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel. I do have a YouTube channel, just like I have a Facebook channel. And I have an Instagram account. Because, we're living in a day of knowledge. Knowledge is power. I was able to save my children. But you can't save your children if you're not willing to do the work. And it's nobody else's responsibility except for yours. No one has to know the rules except for you. And if you never got off of your behind to understand that reading is fundamental, and you cannot progress in life without knowledge, it's a personal choice. So here we are. A gun is not going to get you anything at all in life, except for death. And committing a crime is not going to get you anything in life, except for incarceration. But that's your choice. I choose not to be incarcerated, and I choose to play the game. But I choose to participate. And if there were more people who look like me in the game, showing up at the meetings and holding people accountable as to how they spend the money, probably they wouldn't steal and they wouldn't be killing our kids like this. So we can't all sit on our behinds and pretend we have no obligation. Girl, that ain't my thing. I ain't doing nothing like that. Why I gotta do it? Really? You don't know why you have to do it, right? But if you laid up and got a child, then it's your responsibility to do it. And if you can't make that obligation or choice, then you need to turn it over to somebody who can. Because all children are gifted. They all learn, and they all have the ability to accomplish a quality of life. We, the people who have a basic understanding as to how the system is supposed to operate, need to ensure that the system is operating. Because there's no lane to participate in. You can't just jump in this lane. People can't jump where I am, because guess what? People didn't do the years of community volunteering that I did. You can't possibly know what I did. You can't possibly know what I've done. And I can't possibly know what you've done either. Because I wasn't walking with you and you weren't walking with me. But here we are, we've arrived together. And then arriving together, we have to look at the major outcomes that we expect to happen in our local community. And that would be graduating and engaging in the process of ensuring that other people look like you have the ability to come along too. It's just not happening. Far too many kids are out there and they're ignorant, just plain ignorant, have no concept. But if you want to be warehoused like an animal, like cattle, that's why I see prisons and jails warehousing people. And everybody needs to understand that 20 years ago, Microsoft said, mm, Microsoft said, bing, 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 human capital. That was their thing. And I just trying to understand what they mean by human capital. But here, now in 2020, hell, I know. Human capital is the human capital. Services around humans. America doesn't produce anything else. Human capital. So if we don't learn how to have a conversation around adequate yearly progress, annual yearly progress, maintenance of effort, ensuring how you can measure the outcomes of children as they go through it, and understand that you've been nominated simply because you were born and you're still here, to have an obligation to ensure that all kids have a meaningful opportunity in life. I don't know where we know Thurgood Marshall did say that if you fail to protect your interests, there'll be no interest for you to protect. And perhaps some of you guys need to watch the Thurgood Marshall story. I don't know what to say. I don't understand how so many children could be dropping out of school, but I know when I go into Goodwill and I see perfectly healthy people working in Goodwill, that they're not disabled. They're not there because they have a disability. They're there because they can't get no other job, because they can't count. In Nevada, you got to be able to count back that change. You can't count. You can't work with people's money, and that's just real. And so I don't know. We're living in the day and time that requires that we all have to grow up. We all have to accept responsibility for things we never wanted to accept responsibility for. This is hell. Well, I am from here. I came to Nevada to relax and retire and chase that little ball around the golf course. Seriously? It's like being the rat in the maze and just constantly chasing a ball. When all the time you have children and grandchildren, and no one's committed to ensure that process remains the same for those people. And so, if you're going to step out and have a family, there's no public services that are really functional for people who look like you. So yeah, you do have to do a little bit more extra work in society, so good, to ensure that access happens. But right now, access is not happening. Far too many kids are below grade level. Far too many kids, they're not having a conversation. You see, below grade level means that you really are not functioning like all the other children. And how do they get you to where you need to get? Well, no one's concerned about that. They just need to get you out of their face. They just need you to disappear so that they can keep on getting paid. Because you just existing means that perhaps their paychecks weren't earned well. All that failure in the public school system is unacceptable because you only have one chance in life. This is a one opportunity rodeo, basically. It's not like you're developing a skill. It's not like you're on America's Got Talent and then you're working with skill. Work with the skill after you've developed some basic skills in public education. That was your wonderful opportunity to get a head start in life. But if you chose not to do it, I'm not sure about what you expect. Because people expect, because they say something smart and intelligent, that people are going to somehow jump up and hop to it. No, it don't work like that. Sacrifice has to be you, but it should have been you a long time ago. Let's stop pretending that we have people in high school that we can do something for when we haven't even assessed their needs. Because we don't have any data that demonstrates where those children are actually at. And so, my sister Tony is calling. Here, come on, please come. I'm glad to get off. Here, Tony. So, anyways, I just passed my mother the phone. My sister has called and she'll be talking, and so I'm gonna shut off phone. Yes, yes. And so I'm gonna log off right now, and I will say encourage you guys to step up and understand that we have no other choice but to be living in the present. No, she didn't. No, she didn't, because I was in the middle of a recording. I'm sorry, Perry has it. What are they gonna do for it? Because he's still smoking, ain't he? A machine to actually catch up. The real deal is that we are living in America. He was a smoker. No, it's affecting people who have prior health issues. And Perry has been a smoker for all that time, and he didn't do like me and mom taking the garlic and all that stuff, working on his health. He didn't do any of that.